This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Cogeco.
Hello and welcome to Oakville Matters. This time we're talking about economic development in Oakville, and that's one of the things that matters to Oakville quite a lot in order to keep our future prosperous. And with me today are Mike Branch from Inovex, Martin Drew from iView, and Matt Airhart from Knowledge Management System Innovations. Excuse me, not Systems, Innovations. You're part of the digital media, we think, in our town, certainly high-tech digital media. We're, as a council, have chosen to try to attract advanced manufacturing, professional offices, life sciences, and you. And thank you for being here. I know in some cases we didn't attract you. We found you were here, and before we found digital media. But Mike, let's start with you. Tell us the story of your company and Oakville.
Okay. Well, we started off in Oakville in about 2003. I've been a resident of Oakville. I've grown up in Oakville almost my entire life, and so when I decided where I wanted to open up a new business, it was naturally going to be here. I love the work-life balance it offers. I wasn't going to, do the commute into Toronto every single day. I like being, 5-10 minutes away from the office. And Oakville, in general, just has a nice vibe about it. So we started in 2003. We started off around the head office of Tim Hortons area, around Wycroft and Dorval. And since then, we've moved to Spears. We're between 3rd and 4th line. And I operate a software company out of that area.
How about you, Martin?
Very similar story to Mike's, really. We founded the company in 2002. And a location with a great work-life balance, but also as a startup company, it's great to be in close proximity to potential clients. And our solutions really target education, healthcare, and perhaps the biggest market we're known for, which is casinos. So we provide security and surveillance risk management solutions to casinos, OLG notably, including facial recognition technology. So the location is great because it gives us, we're in easy reach of a target client base, and of course, the infrastructure. And as Mike says, the work-life balance in Oakville is fantastic.
And Matt?
We started KMI as a startup here in Oakville, just me and my partner, and that was back in 2002 as well. And as we grew and took on office space, the first office that we took was actually in Port Credit in Mississauga, just because that was what was available to us on short notice. But then as we really started to grow, we moved over back into Oakville, primarily because the people who were on our team didn't want to commute into the city or even into Mississauga. So we have outgrown our office space several times since then, but we continue to expand here in Oakville because we attract employees from all over the western side of the GTA, including as far out as Hamilton. So we're pretty much sticky in this area because our employees would rather come here to Oakville than commute all the way downtown, and we're one of the few technical options for doing that.
Well, it's great to hear, and it illustrates that when we chose digital media as one of our targets, it's not like we were bringing the idea to Oakville. We were sort of discovering we had these success stories, and we believe in cluster success. And we thought, well, if we blow on this, maybe we can get more. And your own success, I think, at the very least, validates that there's something to it. How much international trade do you guys do? Mark?
So we do, most of our work is done within Canada. However, we have a new startup that we're incubating within Inovex called Maps BI, and that has started to attract a lot of export capabilities through to the United States, Australia, even in Italy. So we're looking at doing more and more of it. I mean, the predominant side of the business is Canada. We do a lot of work even here within the GTA out west in Alberta and Vancouver. It is nice to be close to Toronto, but there is, I'd say, about 20% of our business does do on the export side of things.
Well, Mike, you're one of my favorite success stories because there's a larger narrative around in our our town around, well, our kids can't, you know, the critique, the self-critique that we sometimes subject ourselves to, because, you know, in Canada we like to beat up on ourselves sometimes, is, oh, our kids won't be able to live here, and our kids won't be able to start their businesses here, and here we, and you're not the only one that proves that that's wrong. Have you? What's your sense of the ability to thrive here?
You know what? I think nowadays it's a lot better than it was 10 years ago, and I've seen so many things happen within, you know, Oakville, within the region, just in general, that have helped, you know, younger businesses thrive and do better. It was more difficult about 10 years ago to do something like this, coming straight out of school. The advancement of, you know, the regional innovation centers like Haltech, you know, working in collaboration with institutions like Sheridan, the co-op programs that they have, they've developed quite a bit, and it makes it a lot easier to get to where you need to be as a young business. And these are the types of things, these incubation centers, these innovation centers, that we try to replicate models, you know, from the U.S. And I think we're starting to make some good progress in that direction. There's still, I think, a long way to go, but the progress that we've made to date really inspires me to want to do more. And, you know, the various associations like, you know, Silicon Halton and that kind of thing that bring together all of these technical companies that I had no idea existed. You know, companies like Martin's at iView, and, you know, I've met Nat today as well too. We wouldn't have known about each other if it weren't for these, you know, high-tech associations.
Well, it's good to hear that something government is doing is helping at all, because there's a narrative that goes around that we can't do anything right. So that's good. Martin, how about you? What's your sense of the things that have helped you the most here?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in an interesting market. We found ourselves a great niche market, and which we approach rather uniquely in our software in the gaming industry. So we grow pretty rapidly, not just within Canada, but certainly in the United States. So most of the properties in Las Vegas, for example, use our software. And that expanded rapidly to countries like Australia, New Zealand, Macau. If anyone's familiar with Macau, the gaming mecca of the world now, of course, we have just come back from Singapore and Europe as well. So the majority of our business is overseas. Finding talent, of course, has been challenging over the years, but as Mike correctly stated, some of the programs at Sheraton, the innovation events, the innovation forums that are now being conducted in recent years, and organizations such as Silicon Halton, which has now grown from, you know, I think in 2009 is a good example actually. There maybe 8 people showed up. We're now over 1,100 members, all representing a whole wide range of companies, from startup to more established companies.
I remember going to the first meeting of Silicon Halton.
That's that.
And it was in that sort of garage door enclosement at the pizza store. And who knew it would?
Yeah.
But there were some visionaries.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah.
And Matt, what's your sense of what helps here?
Several things. It's a very stable community. People like to live and work in Oakville. A lot of very successful, stable families here, access to a lot of good university programs. So for us, when we hire, so we're always hiring developers, software developers, and you may have heard the idea that the only sustainable competitive advantage is culture. Well, in Toronto, software developers churn from company to company all day long. Whoever pays them more the next day, they'll switch jobs. Out here in Oakville, because there's a smaller technical community, as long as you treat your employees well, as long as you have a good team environment and give them the opportunity to create good software, then they'll stay for a long time. We have a lot of people on our team who have been here for 7, 8, 10 years, and that's unusual in technology. For us, it's a big deal because it means that we can build a better product. We have people who know not just what the technical aspects of building the software are, but also how it should work, how it can work better, how the users are going to use it. And for us, that's been huge to be able to build that stable team. And we definitely credit Oakville for giving us the stability of that team.
Well, you know, one of my goals as mayor has been to focus all of our energy and our effort on livability. And the whole Livable Oakville plan was based on the underlying premise that if you make the town livable, you'll attract the people that you want. And I think it's working. All the key performance indicators that I track suggest that it's working, and I'm hearing in some of what you've said enough encouragement to keep working on that. I've got to ask, because when you read about the high-tech world, you imagine workplace environments with rec rooms and bean bags and candy jars and, I don't know, massage rooms or something. What's it really like working in the high-tech world for you guys? Mike?
Yeah, well, we've got a bar in the basement. It works out quite well. No. All jokes aside, it's it's a nice atmosphere within our organization. It's very open concept. The way we've kind of designed the office, it allows for a lot of cross communication. Really, not a lot of doors within the organization. No cubicles. That's one thing we really highly believe in. And so we try to create that innovative culture. And I think a lot to Matt's point as well too. The resident of Oakville, the Halton area, likes to be within this area and isn't churning from job to job to job like that might happen in the Toronto area. And that's something that we pride ourselves on, retaining those employees and keeping them interested in the work that they do on a day-to-day basis, right?
So it sounds like the workplace has to be kind of flat and fun. And what else? What makes the difference? You're dealing with creative people, and my background was film and TV, where obviously you have to cater to creative people. Mm-hmm. And our theory was only happy creative people make successful shows, and so we work night and day to keep people happy. Do you find yourselves having to chase after workplace happiness?
I think so to a large extent, and I think the culture of a company is somewhat dictated by the environment that you create, the physical environment. So, we've reinvented ourselves several times over the years. We've had to do that. We've got lots of young people that we employ, and myself, I'm not so young, so I have to listen to other people. I come from a more traditional environment in a research organization, but certainly an open plan. We're just preparing now for our next move, and all the things that we've learned are going to be implemented in our new facility, which is on Winston Park Drive. We're currently on Bristol Circle, and much larger premises, so we're almost 1.5 times inside. We're increasing our hiring as well. So we've had a great opportunity with doing a build out to create the environment that we really want, and we now know our employees want. So it is a very important factor, absolutely.
So would I have fun there?
I think you would. We don't have a jacuzzi yet or a bar, but maybe we'll work on it. If we got the appropriate grants, we'd certainly consider it.
Matt, what's your secret of? How happy does the workplace have to be?
It's got to be happy. People go to a job. People can work anywhere, right? Unless you want to pay them so much that they'll work there and not like it. Most people, the first thing they need is a job that they feel fulfilled at. So our secret is to give people, I hate to overuse the word empowerment, but we do try to empower them to make good decisions. We try not to micromanage anybody. We try to build strong teams, and in those strong teams, give them a vision of where we're trying to go as a company, and then let them use their creative efforts and their own thought processes to figure out what the best way is to get there. And if you give people that freedom, if you give good people that freedom, they can really create exceptional things.
Well, I hope you'll keep attracting good people. I think we should take a break now, and when we get back, let's talk about what we have to do to make Oakville continue to be the success story that it is. Thank you for joining us for Oakville Matters, and I hope you'll be back when we are. Thanks for rejoining us on Oakville Matters. We're talking about Oakville's economic development and particularly our strategy around high-tech or digital media. And with us today we have Mike Branch of Inovex and Martin Drew of iView and Matt Airhart from Knowledge Management Innovations. And we were talking about how do we make Oakville continue to succeed in economic development? And I wonder if you have any specific ideas about what the town should be doing, let's rephrase that as what the municipality should do to keep the success story going. And I call it that. I use the municipal word because here municipal services are split between the town and the region. I'm a figure in both. I have one vote at each, so I think of them as just two different buildings that deliver services. In my mind, they're sort of consolidated. But without regard for which level does it, what more should we do, or should we just stay the course, Mike?
So I've given this a little bit of thought, because you look to successful innovative hubs like Toronto, and you look at what makes them a success as well too. And as important as it is to have innovation within the organization, I think it's also important to have that innovative spirit foster outside of the organization as well too, within the community. Situations where you have an office that is a walkable distance to, coffee shops where people can go and debrief and collaborate, or to bars and this kind of thing, so that you have that part of the organization that lives inside of the office is important, but outside of the office is just as important to, I think, foster a lot of innovation. You look at areas like downtown Oakville, which is a great walkable area. I think to have businesses situated in that area would be phenomenal. We actually looked at situating our office around that area, but the one downfall to that area is parking. Our employees come to work, and they don't want to be paying for parking when they come to the office. So that was a little bit of a detracting factor in that area. So I think improving places where we can situate our office buildings within areas that are walkable, that inspire that innovation and collaboration outside of the office, is something that's really important. And I think something that Toronto's done quite well, and I think we can learn from them to that extent as well.
Martin?
I think what sort of Mike sort of alludes to is maybe partly the technology park concept, which would be fantastic. I mean, there are some great office environments that we're in, where we have local service providers as well. I mean, every company needs legal, accounting, etc. And to have those services in close proximity in a technology park type environment is obviously very interesting. But I think in terms of what the municipality can do, I think continuing or maybe accelerating promotion of awareness that companies like ours actually exist within Oakville, and using that model to inspire young people to create their own companies, and young new entrepreneurs with fresh ideas to create companies in the region. Because I think we're an example of, yes, it can be done, and the support infrastructure exists, as Mike touched on. Organizations such as Silicon Halton, promote that entrepreneurship in the technology segment amongst young people that come to those events. So I think primarily what I'd look to Oakville for doing is obviously creating greater awareness that companies like ours exist. And obviously, if you can promote our products and services at the same time, we wouldn't be complaining.
What about you, Matt?
I would say there's two important things that Oakville could do to help us continue to grow. One is walkable office space. So we're fortunate to be right across from the GO train station, one of the few office buildings that's there. So we can attract people from out west who ride the GO train in from Hamilton. We attract people from downtown Toronto who ride the GO train in. And then everybody who's in the office can walk to grab coffee, lunch. It's just a good, positive environment, which is important to us. We've outgrown that office space several times and always expanded within the building. Recently we outgrew it, and there was no place to expand, so we started looking at moving to another office altogether. And there's not that many opportunities for good walkable office space that you can get to from the GO train on your feet and get out to lunch again. They're building, they're permitting, but I would just encourage the town to continue to support that type of development around the GO train. The other thing is the programs at Sheridan. They have some good technical programs there, but that type of environment, the more technical programs that they can graduate people from, the more of a hiring pool we have to choose from that, again, is local. It's mostly kids from the area who graduate and look for a job, so it'd be very helpful to us.
So an environment that fosters business, and I heard a mention of, well, I caught a hint of help learning to be an entrepreneur, and we actually do provide that, and how to start a business. And I've always worried that people would laugh if government is telling people how to start a business. There's politics around those concepts, right? But I suppose if you call it education, maybe you can strip away the prejudice against government in there. Around the GO station is a very interesting area. It was given to us by, the legislature passed a law and a plan that said we have to grow businesses and residences around the GO station. And we do have a plan that is supposed to create those things. And we now have, we've got the PwC building has gone up, so that's sort of down payment number one. There's another office building a little further east from there that council has now approved, and we're proceeding ahead of schedule. I remember being told a few years ago, Mr. Mayor, you're the mayor who'll lay down the plan. A future mayor, way in the future, will see the buildings happen. And I remember saying, you don't know me. We're going to make that happen. So maybe we'll have something built for you as sooner than it'll cause a crisis. The other place where we're building something, well, we're not building it, but we're again fostering it, is there's 30 acres next to the hospital, and we have a proposal, which I believe is going to pass, to create a life sciences incubator hub, and it's like a high-tech city within a town, right next to the hospital, and there's incubation centers, there's businesses, there's every facility that you might want for walking to, even a hotel for your visiting clients. No GO station. But on the other hand, it is right there on Dundas, and we do have a plan to build a form of rapid transit. I confess it's a bus rapid transit, but the first rapid transit I ever saw was in Ottawa many years ago. We had a dedicated busway, and that was a big success. I know in the rest of the GTA, if it isn't light rail or subway, nobody wants to talk about it, depending on which city you are, which mayor you are, or were. And but there will be some higher form of transit up there on Dundas at the hospital. Would any of you be interested in being in that vicinity when that happens? It's like 4.5 million square feet.
I think from our perspective, certainly because a good portion of our business focus is in the healthcare sector, it would make sense, and it would be something that I think our employees would enjoy as well too. Being able to walk out and talk amongst colleagues from other healthcare organizations, and have that that sense of innovation within the area, and being in close proximity also to the healthcare practitioners, and it's bound to generate new thought, new ideas, and new concepts. So from our perspective, being looking at software specifically within the healthcare sector, I think it makes a lot of sense for us.
And Martin, you've already set on an expansion point, so you've chosen your environment for now. But at your next expansion, what will you be looking for?
Well, who knows? Yeah, I mean, we're going to be in the next facility for, we're planned it, hopefully we'll get it right this time, between 5 to 7 years. I've got that wrong almost every time. Every move that we've made, I've got wrong. And I think one of the facilities we had, I think we outgrew in about 9 months, so my planning was not so great there.
Well, it sounds to me like your planning for success was better than your planning for space.
That's correct, absolutely.
And so that's probably the right way to do it.
Well, I guess, but it's always disruptive when you move a company, no matter how large. There's a lot of things to consider when you move an operation. But I mean, the life sciences concept, that park is always interesting. I think whenever you can bring technology companies together in a single environment, it's amazing what happens. We've seen it, at the Silicon Halt meetings, for example. When you bring companies together, these guys generate new ideas, and from those new ideas comes new markets. They work to find synergies between the products that they're creating, and new products emerges, and new joint ventures emerge. So a dedicated environment to those kinds of companies can generate phenomenal success and new innovation as well, which is obviously what we all strive to do.
And you've raised earlier a really important thing that I confess I don't think I've kept fully in mind the way perhaps I should have, and that's the synergy with having professional offices, professional support folks nearby, your lawyer, your accountant, and all of that. When you're growing really fast, do you tend to outsource things like, well, obviously legal, but what about HR? Does that happen inside, outside? Is there a point where you bring it inside? What goes on there?
There is a point, and I think it's, we started our company with 4 people, we're now about 30-something, and you get to a point where, and I'm sure these guys have experienced as well, where HR management does become an issue. You start off with a young entrepreneurial company, and I've worked in large corporations, so I knew we had to build that framework at some point in time, and we built it pretty early on. So it varies company to company, but once you get beyond a bunch of guys having fun creating stuff, and you start selling stuff and become very real, then you have to bring in, those professional services that you may have outsourced in the past inside. So one of our first hires, for example, was a CFO. We recognized that pretty early on because I'm not good at accounting and I really hate it. It bores me to death. And it was one of the best hires we ever made.
I'm sure your investors are glad that you have a CFO.
They should be, yeah, absolutely.
And Matt?
Yeah, we did also have to bring in-house talent for things like HR, right around 25 people, I would say. We have about 60 people now. When we were at about 25, it stopped being self-managed from an HR perspective. People needed somebody to manage benefits and to talk to and to do hiring. We are hiring, on average, about 5 people a month now. We've just hired a new class of 12 people in the last 2 months. So our HR manager spends probably 2/3 of her time just recruiting and interviewing.
Maybe what we need is to recruit you guys and others like you to give master classes to young people who want to be entrepreneurs, for that once you have a business and it is growing, how do you survive that expansion period? Because I know that is a very crucial part of business. Maybe we can follow up on that in future conversations.
Love to.
Is there anything else that economic development in Oakville needs in your minds? Just a lot of luck and investors.
There's always that, but I think they do a very good job, making people aware of some of the credits that are available, the SR&D programs, the media credits, and so on and so forth. Generally, there's a series of innovation forums running to sort of educate people as well and keep us ahead of government programs. As another event coming up shortly, which is trying to get companies like ours, although we're already largely in the export markets, but to take their products to a much broader market, it's not that difficult. Asia is booming. There's so many opportunities in Asia, and even Europe. So
these are great
they're
points.
Great programs.
And I really appreciate the time you've given us and the public today. This has been Oakville Matters, and we know that economic development matters to Oakville. I hope you'll join us when we talk about Oakville Matters again.